On today's show, I'm bringing you a brand new company that came on our radar about 2 or 3 months ago. The name of the company is HMMR Fiber Optics Holding Corp. You can find them on the OTCQB under the ticker symbol HMMR. And with us today is the CEO and Executive Director of the company, Mr. Erik Levitt. Erik, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be on.
You know, before we get started with the Q&A, if you would, give us just a brief about statement of who you guys are and what you do.
HMMR is investing in wireless technology across the United States and in other markets like the Eastern Caribbean and in West Africa. Our principal technology is going to be around fixed wireless and OTT.
Well, you know, you recently put out a press release, and I was really impressed with what you guys are doing over there, especially out there. You guys are in Huntsville, Alabama. Can you describe for my listeners your current business model and your strategy, where you guys go from here?
Our business model revolves around what we call our everything list strategy, which has 4 pillars: high-speed fixed wireless, mobility, OTT, which is over-the-top technology, and smart city. Right now, our revenues are predominantly from our OTT business segment and the subsidiaries under that segment, which include First Point Communications, Endstream Communications, and Shellco. Our fixed wireless references the Huntsville deployment, being our re-entry into the U.S. market. And we have intentions of constructing wireless networks in the Eastern Caribbean, Jamaica, and continuing our deployments in West Africa.
You know, you guys recently put out a press release at the end of October there. That recent announcement was about your network in Huntsville. How is it progressing, and how is that going to change your business?
We're doing quite well with the deployment. Some delays, of course, because of the coronavirus, but we've successfully migrated around those issues, and we're now in the process of bringing fiber to the low mill water tower, where we'll be deploying our first radios. We have a strong set of back orders for the network, and we have a substantial coverage area from that tower. So we anticipate we'll be able to fill that tower pretty promptly. And it will change the focus of the business, moving from the OTT segment into our fixed wireless segment, where we plan to direct the lion's share of our revenues in coming quarters. Right now, the Huntsville network is in. Our fiber is being delivered, radios are being delivered, and we do hope to have this in that market with customers live during this calendar year.
And what do you feel is going to be your greatest challenge moving forward on this business?
The most complex problem that that a lot of wireless ISPs face is access to spectrum. We consider that an important political consideration. We're hopeful that with change of administration, that the FCC will become more favorable to smaller businesses. That's echoed by industry associations such as Encompass. And I think there is a general feeling of optimism that the new administration will be more favorable to wireless ISPs and in general to smaller players in the market such as HMMR. We feel that in Huntsville, because of the strong brand recognition that we have and our access to spectrum right now, that for the foreseeable future, we can have growth in that market. We see other markets such as Western Texas and northeastern Ohio being major markets for us going forward as we gain further access to spectrum. Certainly, with CBRS options now in play, we feel that access to spectrum is growing for this moment, but we do feel that there's more to be done at a government level, at the federal level, to give further access to spectrum resources to smaller companies. And we're going to be pushing quite substantially with the FCC and lobbying to make sure that happens.
Currently, your market cap's around $7 million. I think last year you guys did around $2.7 million in revenue. As you know, Erik, as any CEO of a publicly traded company, especially on the OTC, it's hard keeping money coming in, keeping the doors open. Your thoughts on that going forward?
We feel that organic growth is going to hurt our revenues in direction, and in the long term, we feel that that will have a positive impact on the share price. We have, of course, tried to patience with our investors. This process is a long one. It takes time to put together the appropriate resources to make sure that we have the right long-term approach. We feel quite strongly with our partners in Huntsville, for example. We have a relatively low cost base compared to industry standard for our deployment, a smaller cost base than our prior deployments, and we've ensured that our access to spectrum is not dependent on third party in this deployment, so that going forward we can continue to grow the new base. And although acquisition will certainly be part of our strategy long term, we feel quite strongly that our access to revenue will be based on organic growth, beginning with the Huntsville market.
Before I let you go, what is it that you want my listeners and your stockholders to take away from today's interview?
I think that the most important point for everyone to take away right now is that we are just at the beginnings of our growth phase, that the network in Huntsville is the very first step in Hammer's growth strategy in bringing that very first pillar to market. Fixed wireless is going to be a critical component going forward, and we feel very strongly based on our market recognition and our strategy in Huntsville that the fixed wireless market in Huntsville will be successful for us, and that in the long term, Hammer's growth will be strong based on projects similar to our deployment in Huntsville, where we have taken that brand recognition, the local name that we have there, created back orders, and we'll be actively marketing in that space long term. And we feel quite strongly that that's where our long-term growth is going to come. So I think everyone should look for us in the coming quarters to see that growth start to take hold. And we look forward to hearing from our investors online and having people see all of our releases. And this interview certainly looking forward to the next couple of quarters of growth.
My guest today has been Erik Levitt. He is the CEO and Executive Director of Hammer Fiber Optics Holding Corp. Look him up. You can find him on the OTCQB under the ticker symbol HMMR. Erik, I want to thank you for stopping by and coming on the show today. Hopefully you'll come back in 40 or 50 days, give us an update of what's going on.
Thank you very much.
This program is entirely sponsored and produced by La Jolla Media LLC, which is responsible for the content. The opinions and information provided on this program are for educational and research purposes. Stock Day encourages all listeners of this program to do their due diligence and research when determining investment strategies that will work for them, or to seek the assistance of an investment professional.